What is the strangest thing a stranger has said to you on the street? Do you want to see the elephants? Someone said this to me in the mall. It took years to find out what TF they were talking about. I looked at them all confused and they walked away. Later I found out they were trying to sell me acid. Oddly enough, it was my exhaustion as teenagers. I was talking about the odd time someone asked me about elephants at the mall and he started laughing. Not the only time we had run into each other when we were younger. Another time I was walking out of someone's house and we had a hey what's up moment and went about our business. My last dog Tax was a tiny, adorable little Chi-Mix who naturally drew attention whenever I took her out. Some interactions were cute, some not so much. The cute, I had someone tell me that your dog is so small. It's like you shrunk it in the dryer. The less cute, I had a skinhead come up and inform me that her rainbow striped leash was dishonorable, and that I needed to go buy a new one. I'm queer, but the leash was the only possible indication of that at the time. So it was more than a little unnerving. I was walking through People's Park on my way to work and was really happy. I had a great night and the sunshine felt wonderful and I had a giant smile on my face. I was wearing scrubs and my top was my favorite color, purple. I said good morning to a guy in the park. He looked at me and sneered. Purple is the color of imperialism. Turned his back on me. What the fuck? Bro. Who shit in your cereal? Totally killed my jaw and I walked into work in a slum. In Long Beach, California when I was a teenager. Old lady walking past. You must be a smart boy, your head's so large you must have a lot of extra brains. I'm walking with a school friend down the street. A car stops in the middle of traffic and the driver, a middle-aged woman, calls out, "Hey, are you two brothers?" Both of us look at each other and wonder, even if we were, is she going home? And announcing excitedly, "Hey, I saw a couple of brothers today." Left a dentist with a numb mouth and some woman approached me asking if I can read these words on her phone for her because her English is bad and confused what this person has texted her. I'm thinking now ... now. Out of all the times in my entire life I'm perfectly able to speak, this weird request happens to me right now at this moment when my mouth is numb for the next 2 hours. Now is when this happens to me. What the hell? Per that I had since grown too small for due to getting carts. And some old guy walked all the way over to me in the back of a Walmart parking lot and gave me a church flyer and said Jesus loves you. I mean, I know I could have cleaned up a little more before rolling out, but I didn't think I looked that bad. Was offered a gummy by a crackhead. I was 16. And at the time wasn't too familiarized with crackheads at all. Was confused because I saw no gummies in her hands. So where would the candy appear from? Cousin then kindly let me know she wanted to give me brain. Became a man that day, who was disappointed in lack of gummy candies. Pro tip: don't not agree to a gummy from random crackhead. It's a trap. My sister stole $17 million from me and hired 6 cops to kill me. The Aryan Brotherhood and MS-13 are protecting me until I can hire a lawyer to sue my sister and get the money back. I'd been sleeping in a doorway across from my previous place of employment for at least 2 years before she told me this, repeatedly refusing to stay in a shelter unless the temperature was below 0. One night at 7-Eleven seems to be a common theme here. A huge guy in a van asked if my name was Bick. I said no. He asks me if I'm undercover. I said no. Dude proceeds to jump up and down in his van, causing it to shake violently and scream in a gravelly voice that he ain't no sucker. You understand me? I'm not going down again. Oh, mental illness. What deep secrets you hide. On the subway in Nick, I was riding with my friend in a crowded car and out of nowhere this lady started blowing a whistle and saying stay the fuck away from me. We ignored her until she walked up to us blowing the whistle, and it was clear that she was screaming at us and still screaming to stay away and something about us being evil. Then she got off at the next stop. With my BF looking at the tech gadgets in Walmart, and this dude comes up to us and asks us if we believe in God. and that we are God's representation of Adam and Eve on earth made to God's likeness. He then went on a spiel while looking up Bible verses on his phone until my BF, and I politely interrupted him and walked away. I was waiting outside cause my mother and sister was getting their nails done. I talked to some guy whose name I forgot from I think the Parker Project to pass the time. Him and I had a long conversation and gave me some advice when I'm joining the military. He did join, as his father did. It was strange how we managed to make a conversation like that. This one woman, about 60 and ugly and way too overweight for me, asked if I'd money to give her. I said no. Then she said she'd give me a blowjob if I gave her $3. I said no. Then she followed me home. I was walking back from the gas station and did this whole spiel about God to her and how she has no friends. And she asked me for more money. Elk sees over to me and starts telling me how Putin isn't as stupid as America thinks and something about Kissinger that I don't actually remember. I just remember Googling who Kissinger was after that day. I live in Ireland and this was in 2019. There was no reason to bring this up. Fell asleep on a long Greyhound ride. When I fell asleep, no one was sitting beside me. When I woke up, a guy was sitting there writing his address on a piece of paper. He hands it to me and goes, "You look so nice when you're sleeping. Here's my address for later." That was the last time I ever dozed off on a trip. A lady is walking her dog through a parking lot. I'm standing outside my workplace as we had just got out, hood up. The dog is like puppy jumping forward towards me around 80 feet away, getting excited. It's dark outside. Next thing I hear from this is, "Lady, is my dog does not like you." I was at a friend's BBQ and he lives in a rough neighborhood. We step out of his house and cop pulls over and says, "Do you guys speak English?" "Yes." "Did you hear any gunshots?" "No." They rolled out, and as we walked to the station, two girls walking past us said, "You'll be careful now. Respiratories. They're putting 5G towers in here soon, and you'll really need to be protecting your respiratories from some lady smoking and walking her ancient beagle after I told her the dog was cute." I've posted this on a different thread before, but it's relevant here too. Once I was smoking a cigarette in a designated smoking area, and some random lady comes up to me screaming, "How dare you smoke that cigarette in front of me? Don't you know I'm a cancer survivor?" When I was a teen, you just moved to SAF. While waiting for a bus, an old guy was smoking a joint and asked if I wanted any. I said sure, and took a puff. But it was nasty. I said, "What's in that?" and he replied, "My own recipe. Hash, tobacco and sperm." I had a woman approach me and told me I looked delicious, like a chocolate bar. I was wearing a brown suit, but my most appealing days were long behind me. I think it was meant as an innocent compliment that just came off really thirsty and creepy. I was walking in Pattaya, Thailand on Halloween Day, and this older man walked by me and just said, "Boo." I was so startled that I could only stare at him. He started laughing and walked away, which made me laugh all the way to my hotel room. I was smoking a cigarette outside of my first job when two guys walked by and asked if I wanted to be in a movie. It wasn't until years later that I read between the lines on that one ... Mind you, I was 18 and caught off guard. But and WTF. While getting off the subway in Chicago for the first time, a black dude was lighting a blunt going down the escalator while I was going up the escalator and said, "Don't get rude." Definitely made me feel like I might get robbed. Years ago, a very, very drunk man unsteadily approached my friend and I in the street. He was squinting at his watch and closing one eye to try and read it. When he finally got to us, he asked, "Is it 10 in the morning or 10 at night?" And waiting for a bus after 12 hours working in there, and some dude asked me for a light. So I said, "Sorry fam, I don't smoke." His friend went, "TF, you mean you don't smoke, Enga?" And they walked away. A man in 1997 in Syracuse asked me what did one tampon say to the other. I didn't know what to say. He said if I laughed I owed him $1. I said okay. Nothing. They were both stuck up bitches. I gave him $1. I crossed paths with an older man in the grocery store and said excuse me. He gave me a wild-eyed look and said cocker. I pieced out of there and went over to my husband. The word of the day after that was, of course, cocker. Probably the lady who scolded me for walking outside of the crosswalk lines for putting her life in danger. I believe she was sincere, but I hope someday I understood what her reasoning was. Walking down a street in London as a teenager, and a random old guy called her black bastard. In fairness, he didn't seem to be quite all there. I'm white and have red hair, which somehow makes you even whiter. Was high on edibles, so that added a whole different layer to it. Was walking on a street enjoying beautiful day. Random dude getting it all figured out. That fucked with my head for a long time. I was eating ramen one night at 7-Eleven and some dude walked over to scratch a lottery ticket, told me his ass will get fucked tonight if he doesn't get it right this time. Then he just walked away after. A random lady stopped me outside of a Subway and offered me $20 to pee in a cup for her. Being the kind high school student I was, I politely declined cause my pee was probably dirtier than hers. Was walking my dog when a lady approached, leaned in close, and whispered, "They're listening through the trees," then just walked away like nothing happened. Haven't looked at an oak the same since. I was 13 years old 40 years ago, waiting at a crowded bus stop when an old, drunk, vagrant man came up to me and said, "What do you think?" $50. Shocked, I replied, "I don't think." He wandered off.